power generation facility at 950 Winfield Road. The property is zoned R5 multi-dwelling district. Ms. Peters.
Mayor Myers, Vice Mayor Parham, I am asking if council could please continue this case. This is a new land use in the state of Virginia as well as the state of North Carolina. And in the midst of preparing the package and getting this scheduled for a public hearing, there was a seminar, symposium, to discuss the pros and cons of having a solar panel farm in a community. And I think it is only to the benefit of the citizens of the city of Petersburg that we have all of the information before we come before you to ask that you will grant an approval. So if you could please be so kind as to continue that case, that is the recommendation coming from the planning staff.
Councilman Cole.
Thank you. I make a motion that we continue the case.
All right. Councilman Hill.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Coleman.
Aye.
Councilmember Hart. Councilmember Hill.
Aye.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson Smith. Aye. Vice Mayor Parham.
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye.
Motion's passed.
Item B, a public hearing for a special use permit pursuant to Article 23, Section 412 of the zoning ordinance to operate a child care center in a residential district subject to certain terms and conditions at 2568 North Stedman Drive. The property is zoned R1 Single Family Residence District. Ms. Peters.
And so the request for your consideration this evening is a special use permit for the operation of a child care center in a residential district. So the zoning ordinance says that you can have a child care center. You just have to have approval by the planning commission, and then you have to have an approval by city council. This case was presented to the planning commission, and the planning commission has submitted to you a recommendation of approval. The child care center will be operated out of an existing church. The church currently has a fenced-in play yard, as well as the church shares its sanctuary with another church on Sunday. So the church has services, 2 services on Sundays and 1 service on Wednesday. And then the daycare would operate at this location from Monday through Friday. There are a number of recommendations that we are placing on this approval, and the case was also heard by the development review team. So building as well as police, fire, public works have given their input on this particular request. An inspection has been made. The church is prepared to make the upgrades once you decide to move forward. They did express concern in spending the money, not knowing if the case would be approved. So all is on board for the operation of the daycare center at the church. The zoning for the property is R1. It is in the middle of a residential community. As of this meeting, there has not been any letters or phone calls of support. Neither have there been any letters or phone calls not supporting the application. And so it is the recommendation coming from staff that you would grant the special use request to the applicant to operate at the church in the R1A zoning district with the recommendations that are attached in your packet. I am available to address any questions that you may have.
At this time, I open the floor for public comments. Mr. Stewart.
Mayor Myers, City Council, my name is Richard A. Stewart, and always my concern, I've asked this before in places. I'm not against it. Is any requirement that they check sexual predators that live in that area before you open these places? You got kids that, because I asked this question at a meeting once before years ago, and they said I was stupid. Do they check first if there's a sexual predator within the room?
Ms. Peters, you want to respond?
There are no requirements in the zoning ordinance that we would check for sexual predators. However, a daycare facility is licensed by the state of Virginia, so that very well could be a requirement of the state. But there is nothing in our code that will require us to run that check. So the applicant would have to get approval and a license from the Department of Social Services for the daycare.
Are there any more public comments? Seeing no further hands, this public hearing is closed. Mayor Myers.
Any questions from members of council?
Questions?
Councilman Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Question. On the application, it mentions a number of potential daycare participants. I guess it's for Ms. Peters. Is that determined by the square footage on the application?
The number of children, as your staff report will indicate, is going to be determined based on building code. So building code will ultimately determine the number of children. So what happens is, the zoning ordinance does not have a number restriction. Building code will have a restriction based on the square footage of the space, as well as the state will have a restriction. However, building code is going to supersede the state's requirement. So it's going to be the building code that's going to dictate, and it's stated in the recommendation that building code, the number of children will be regulated by the building code.
And one of the, if I may, Mr. Mayor, one of the factors on that building code you mentioned was square foot, and I noticed on the application it says 89,000 square foot, so that the whole entire church would be used for the daycare program?
There will be 2 buildings that will be utilized for the daycare. Their site plan showing you the 2 buildings that will be utilized.
Okay, then follow up, Mr. Mayor, final question. Since those will be for profit, will those buildings come off from being non-taxable to the church and become taxable items?
The daycare owner would have to get a license, business license from the city of Petersburg. So the daycare owner would be responsible for those taxes. The church and the daycare are independent of each other.
No further questions, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Richard McKeithen, City Assessor. The question of its taxable status could be in question. We would have to send them paperwork, go out and inspect the property, kind of weigh in exactly the daycare facility, for profit, et cetera, things like that, versus its current exempt status. So that's something we would have to sit down with the actual representatives of the church and inform them of, because the actual use of the property is dictating it could be for profit, which could take it out of this exempt status. So that's a good question.
Thank you.
Let me clarify, when you said that, I apologize. I wasn't thinking assessment. I was thinking taxes that will be due for the daycare. So just to be for clarification.
Not a problem, Mr.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Coleman.
Thank you. Is the owner operator present?
Ms. Jones? Yes.
Could you come forward, please? Good evening, Ms. Jones. Could you just talk to council briefly as far as what your plans are?
Yes. My plan is to come in with a program for starting with the infants up to the age of 12 to help utilize them to make them better citizens for the future. Establish them to become better, productive citizens. We do push for early education, and that's the biggest thing that I do push, starting with the youth at their prime time, you know, to build them, mold them up to where they need to be, and prepare them to get ready for school.
Okay, approximately how many children are you talking about?
I just did like an estimate. I just said 50, but it's according to the state. When they go and do the measurements of the square footage of the building, it could possibly be up to 100 kids. Up to 100. I'm just saying about 100. It depends on what the state, after they do their measurements, they'll give me a number of how many kids I'm allowed to have.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Any questions from members of council? Okay, thank you. Thank you. No other questions, Madam Clerk? No. All right, is there a motion to move forward further? Councilwoman Wilson-Smith?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we allow Ms. Cheryl Jones a special use permit pursuant to Article 23, Section 412 of the zoning ordinance to operate a child care center in the residential district at 2568 North Stedman Drive.
Councilman Moore?
Second to the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Coleman?
Aye.
Councilmember Hill?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson Smith?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kern?
Aye.
Mayor Myers?
Aye.
Motion's passed. The next item, item C, a public hearing for the city's issuance of up to $6.5 million of its general obligation revenue anticipation notes. Ms. Birch?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. I'm Nelsie Birch. I am the interim finance director for the city. And with this public hearing, we had issued an RFP for the revenue anticipation notes. Bids were due last Friday. Our financial advisor and our bond counsel is here tonight to answer any specific questions that may come up during the discussion. But essentially what this exercise does, or this public hearing does, is it obligates or it commits the city's full faith and credit backing of the general obligation powers of the municipality. We have not worked out all the details of the revenue anticipation note. We will come back to council in a couple weeks once we have all the details, the terms, etc. So this action, both the public hearing and I believe there's a resolution to respond to, does not actually commit the city. It's just asking for the full faith and credit backing to be approved and have a public hearing on that. So if you have any specific questions for me or our financial advisors or bond counsel, happy to answer those.
Okay. Any questions from members of council?
Can I?
1 second, Councilwoman Wilson-Smith, I overstepped that time.
At this moment, I open the floor for public comments. Seeing no hands, this public hearing is closed.
All right, Councilwoman Wilson-Smith.
I just wanted to get clarification. Please, just one more time. You said this does not obligate us at this point.
This action does not. It's essentially just saying we're willing to back these bonds with the full faith and credit powers of the city. We don't yet have all the terms worked out. We're working with our financial advisors on that. The next action for you would be actually to commit the city to approve the revenue anticipation notes and then have to pay those back. But at this time, that action is not up for your vote.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure I understood you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Again, Nelsie, could you come back up? I just wanted to get clarity. So did you need a motion from us to negotiate, or are you okay?
No, I believe there's a resolution in your packet to approve that just indicates that we can move forward on this. If you could approve that, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do y'all have copies of the resolution? I think it was in your packet, but want to make sure that it was. You good? Got it? Okay. Thanks.
Vice Mayor.
I move to adopt the resolution authorizing the general obligation revenue anticipation note in the maximum of $6.5 million.
Councilman Hill.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Coleman?
Aye.
Councilmember Hill?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson Smith?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kern.
Aye.
Mayor Myers.
Aye.
Motion's passed.
Mr. Mayor, make a statement. Councilman Hart just got drastically ill. I think his daughter is picking him up. He's been in the bathroom. He's not feeling well, so he will not be with us today. He's outside right now waiting on someone to pick him up, so let us keep him in our prayers today. Thank you.
The next item, item 8, public information period. The public information period is established by the rules of council to hear input from city residents or owners of businesses in the city. It will last for a maximum of 30 minutes. Speakers will be called in the order that they have signed up to speak. If there are 10 or fewer speakers, each shall speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. If there are more than 10 people desiring to speak, the time allotted to each person may be adjusted or the number of speakers limited to meet the time limitation. A speaker may speak on items except those that are listed on tonight's council agenda. Any matter brought before the attention of City Council during this public information period will not be acted upon by City Council at this meeting. We have 11 speakers. The first speaker is Anna Harris. And I ask that everyone who comes up to the mic, please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, Council. My name is Annie Harris, and I'm the owner of the Commonwealth Texas Academy. Good evening. I'm coming before you guys because we were told by Parks and Rec that there will not be a Petersburg Christmas parade. So my business is not just a business where I am serving, as a restaurant. It is a dance studio where I service children and parents of the community. So we've been in business for 6 years, and now this will be our 6th parade, but now we're not going to be able to participate in the parade because they're telling us that you guys don't have the budget for the parade or the cost for the parade. So I want to know, what can we do as a community, because everybody's looking forward to this. Like, thousands of people, I want to say hundreds of people, come out to support the city's parade. So if Petersburg doesn't have a city Christmas parade, what kind of cheer, what kind of joy are you going to give the community? I feel as though we should either try to fundraise as a community with business owners and other local people that would like to donate towards the cost to meet the budget cost, or we could actually have volunteers come out and help, like law enforcement volunteers to come out for those 2 hours time frame to help so the city can have a parade. And the children in the community and the seniors in the community will be able to participate in the parade as well.
Thank you.
They don't answer questions from this period.
At the next meeting?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next speaker, Richard Stewart.
My name is Richard Stewart at 129 Wall Street. While I'm here for today, I'm back again to talk about my neighborhood. Now, I will listen to that. That is vehicles, 18 wheelers going through our community. With the dust and grime, old folks, 95 years old, can't breathe. There's a lady over there that's on the breastplate. It is terrible, and the question of Black Lives Matter. I can't breathe. This is what the folks over there say, I can't breathe. But Black Lives Matter. Why Pocahontas, the oldest black community in the USA, that we have to put up with this kind of stuff right here at our front door, on our roof. I've just spent $7,000 finishing roof off the line and stuff from that destroyed it. In one of my houses in 1850, that free Negroes lived there, it has just about destroyed that. The other day a sweeper came on there and made it worse. So it's not just a Petersburg problem, it's a regional problem. Then with it, Prince George and Surrey, a couple other city councilmen have talked to me, and I've showed them the video of our problem over there. So, what can you do? My family link is this. This was put in my hand today, the Department of Environmental Quality, and they said affected probably sometime this week. They'll be in the Pocahontas and see our suffering because there's concern with what's going on over there. But I want to put the city first. I will not be back again with this justice. The next time I come back, I will come back and ask for some money. Thank you.
Amen.
Next speaker, Corey Harris.
Good evening. This is becoming quite redundant. You cannot fix Petersburg without fixing the people. And the citizens of this city, they're angry, they're frustrated, they're confused. I've said this before, we are not good Indians. We just want our voice to be heard. I'll tell you a quick story. I was in a car with a woman, I was doing work for her. And she was driving. And on Interstate 95, she just fell into tears. She just started crying. The car moved, swayed left and right. We pulled the car over, and she was crying with her 9-year-old daughter beside her. And she was saying, Mommy, the girl was saying, Mommy, what's wrong? She looked at her child, and she was telling her child, Mommy can't pay, the rent. Mommy can't, pay her phone bill, and she just wanted to die. Can you imagine being in a car with someone who's saying that? 4 months ago, I talked to Councilman Hart, and I talked to someone through social media, and the gentleman said he didn't know whether he wanted to die or not. And I sent Councilman Hart that information. We have to start focusing on the citizens of the city. I understand what the Roberts Law Group has to do, but we cannot neglect the people. And that's exactly what we're doing. We are neglecting the citizens of Petersburg. They are your biggest investors, and they deserve the respect. They were here with the good, the bad, and the ugly. They're with me. Instead of just throwing powerful words, how about throwing powerful results? Thank you. All right.
The next speaker, Talila Majid.
Good evening. Just like many people in the city, I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed not just about decisions that were made, but the process that was used in making those decisions. There are so many times when I've been in meetings, city council meetings, and a decision was voted on and passed, and then we hear soon after that that a decision has been made to reverse that. And some of the decisions were decisions that the community really expressed their concern about the outcomes of the questions. For instance, when there was a vote for a 10% reduction in pay, and I personally was not happy with that across the board because it doesn't make sense when you have some people making over $100,000. So what was voted on was, okay, people in a certain bracket, I think it was over $80,000, 20% reduction. And then later on, we find out that no, now everybody's getting a 10% across the board reduction in pay. So that's what I heard. And so if that's not true, we need to hear from you. There have been people during a time of crisis getting promotions and raises. That doesn't make sense, and I'm not even a political science major. That just doesn't make sense on just a human level, on a practical, common sense level. That does not make sense. And it's disappointing to find out that these are the kinds of decisions that are being made when you're the leadership in the community, and we're sort of stuck with you. It's almost as if you live someplace else. And I just can't figure out when you have a change, there's a change that needs to happen, and I'm just hopeful that the Bob Group will actually help implement that change. And my concern is that a really great plan is going to be developed, but the competency to implement that plan is not going to be available. And it seems that competency has been a real issue, because otherwise, I'm not sure how we can explain the city being in such difficulty right now. I am thinking that the Bob Group may come up with some of the same suggestions that some of us came up with, because we're very intelligent and did research and we love this city. So I am hoping that you will allow whatever the Bob Group comes up with to actually be implemented with 100% of your support. Thank you.
Amen.